Hey, what's up, everybody? I hope you're doing well. Welcome to Fabric Friday. Best way to launch into the weekend is by watching me enter a subdivision. So, I'm here in Fresno, California. Decided to do one in Fresno. I lived in Fresno for a little while in my youth and enjoyed that time. It was a fun time in my life. So this subdivision, I'm going to show you the legal description here. This legal description, I mean, it uses a lot from I'm not sure how Fresno County does, or California, the state of California, how they do uh, dividing up land, but we are in Utah. We just name the subdivision and then we tie to the state plan, or no, PLSS, Public Land Survey System, to get our land divided. But here in California, it looks like they pre-divide it and then use those lots to divide it further. We do that sometimes for like a big development. We do a kind of a master plan kind of a thing and then divide that up into sections. And then the legal descriptions from then on are lot whatever of that subdivision. But here in Fresno, and I've noticed a lot of these subdivisions are like this. So this is the description, and it's like Lot 8 of the Henrietta Rancho in the city of Fresno, and then also Parcel 2 is Lot 8 of the northwest quarter of Section 16, and then accepting therefrom, also accepting. I didn't want to go through all that, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just enter the bearings and distances from this boundary page, and then there's another page of how the lots are divided up. So that's how I'm going to do it. I actually have a layer here from this, hosted from Fresno County. It's Corner Records. If you want to know how, well, I think I closed those. Nope, I got it open here. So I got that from going to, let's see, I think it's this. Nope, maybe I closed that window. I think I did, dang it. No, here it is. So here's a surveyor web page, their web map. I came to their corner records, and then I hit the ellipsis, and I went to show item details. And then I came down here, copied the link, went to my map, said add data from path, and then you just copy that link in there. That's how I got that layer on my map. I've got my map in a Fresno, or the state plane, California state plane zone 4, US feet is my coordinate system. And if you watched last week, I think the problem I had with things lining up, I had things in the I was working in a file, or in a geodatabase, and my parcel fabric was still in that St. George coordinate system. So I'm thinking that's why I was so far off. I don't know. I didn't really look into it, but that could have contributed. So I'm going to enter this subdivision using the bearings and distances on this boundary page. So to begin, I'm going to set my ground to grid correction. I'm going to enter the ground line and then draw the grid line. So it's this basis of bearing is these numbers here. And the numbers in parentheses, if you look over here on the right of this page, it gives you a little legend, parentheses, or record data from a specific parcel map. So I'm going to use the non-parentheses numbers because that's what they did on the ground. So that is north 0.59-4. I hit tab twice. The distance is 2675.92. Now I hit next, and I'm going to zoom out a little. And I can snap to that layer that I have in there, even if it's a web layer. and use that for my basis of bearing. And this image, because I had so much trouble drawing with drawing speeds last week, I thought I'm going to convert these to TIFFs. This image is just on here. I didn't georeference it. It's just, I fit to display and then moved it around and scaled it till it was a close, so I can just kind of use it. So this point is really supposed to be this point. And I could actually go in and go into my georeference tab and move it. And if you, okay, I'm going to pause here. If you ever have problems with, before when I went into this move mode, my image went away, or it was just a white. So I had to come in here. I had to have my image selected in the table of contents, and I had to go to raster layer, and I went to the stretch type, and it defaults to %clip. There's a train going by. Let's see if it's not moving my mic thing. So if it's annoying to you, let me know. I'll try to figure out how to fix that. Anyway, so back to this. It defaults to %clip for the stretch type. And I've noticed problems with lots of plats that I georeference. If they quit drawing, I always come here and check the stretch type, change it to none, and then it's not going to be a problem. So I'm going to move this down to kind of be there. Looks like I need to scale it. Giving you a little tutorial on georeferencing. See that yellow dot? That's the anchor point. I'm going to move that anchor point by holding down my control key and clicking there. And now, this is annoying to me, Esri, if you're listening. Now if I scale this, I have to do it again. Now if I scale this, I have to use these outside handles, these little white squares around the image. I wish you could just grab it anywhere in the image and just start dragging. But I have to zoom way out to see these stupid handles. So grab the handle and I'm going to zoom it. I don't know, is that? I don't think that's going to be right. I'm thinking it's supposed to be up here. Oh, this image has a little cutout. So it's not to scale. They've cut a little bit out of the length so they could fit it on the page. So never mind. But that's how I scale and move my images. So I'm going to add control points, and that will turn off, make it opaque instead of transparent. Going to come to the traverse tool, use connection lines, start at that section monument. And this bearing is going to be this bearing here. So that's 89, 1549 northeast, 76 feet. I don't know. We'll see. Turn that off. Yeah, I think that'll be right because look, they've got a right-of-way here. So now I'm going to hit new, change my line type to be, and then they call these tracks, not subdivisions. So I set up my parcel fabric to be tracks instead. And again, here I'm going to add, they don't label the bearing of this line, but I'm assuming it's parallel to the section line. So I'm going to use that bearing. And then the distance, if you look, they have a lot of distances labeled along here, but this one closest to is the one I want because these little hook symbols are meant for that distance, and it goes from there to the very end. So that's the distance I'm going to use. 1338.41. and 891508 northeast, 2532.81. This bearing is 10004 southeast. I don't know if that. So that that closest distance is only to the edge of something. It's not all the way to the end, so I'm going to use 1338.54. And then the bottom one is 891549 southwest. $2624.47. So let's turn off my image and see if that'll. Seems like it's wider than it is tall. Yeah, I wonder what's up with that. Oh, let's look at the north arrow, Jeff. Where's their north arrow? No, because the bearings. All right. I think I need to go with the inside lines. I should have run through this before I started streaming. Or maybe that subdivision is small. Okay, we're gonna change it to 617.2, and then the bottom 617.62. That closes with 0.01 feet. Now I'll turn off my image. Yeah. Oh, look. Look at my scale factor. I messed up my ground grid. Maybe I used the wrong coordinate or wrong. Yeah, I used this monument when I should have used this. Now I'm going to have a trouble because my I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to show you how if I change my ground to grid line, it will change what's in my traverse tool. So we're going to keep the bearing and the distance. There was my dog. I don't know if you heard him. And I'm going to go to the right, or the correct. Now let's see. So that automatically changed my distances, but my connection line was off. So I'm going to delete it. And use my selection tool. Delete. And we'll go back and just try adding it again. So this is nice because you see me screw up all the time. So turn on my and that's 891549 northeast, 76 feet. I didn't change it from tracked lines though. See, that gets me all the time. So I'm just gonna say copy lines to, oh, I can't. Delete. Try traverse again. There, now it's a connection line. I'm gonna change my selectable features to be tracked lines only. I right click and say make this the only selectable layer. Then I select all of those and I'm gonna move them. I hold down control, snap to that corner. It didn't do it. And then move them and let them snap to the end of the connection line. Now let's see if things line up a little better. That's probably better. I mean, this fence line up in the north doesn't quite match up. Wonder how that'll work out. So there's my boundary. I'm going to create seeds and build it. What do you guys think of having just track numbers instead of a subdivision line? Ah, I forgot to move my face camera down. I'm sorry. I apologize. I hope you were seeing stuff that was Sam Montoya says, warned me of my face camera was covering up stuff. Oh, and Sam Montoya also says that he sets the masking value to match the background color so that it's transparent. Then you can change the black color in your image to be a different color. Then it kind of stands out. I've done that too, and it helps, but it takes me a little longer, so I haven't been doing it with this stream. So I apologize, my face camera was covering up a lot of stuff. We'll see how things line up here. Now I've already added this, so I'm going to close georeferencing for that image and open it for this one. So I have to go to imagery, then georeference. I'm going to fit to scale, and this one is rotated, and I'm going to rotate it, fixed rotate to the right. I'm going to move it. See, that's what I'm saying. It turns into that, so I have to come in here to raster, stretch type, none. Now I should be able to see my plat. Come back to georeference. I'm going to move it. I'm not going to scale it. So I'm going to add control points. So that took me a while to figure out how to make it opaque instead of transparent because I had the move tool active. You just click on add control points, then it becomes opaque again. I don't know why that is. So there's that point. I don't have high hopes for how this is lining up. And maybe it's because I didn't redo the lines. I don't know. What do you guys think? So there's 2 points. I guess I'll do a third. Yeah, look how... Okay, save that. Maybe it's because I didn't redo my lines after fixing the ground to grid. We'll see. Close georeferencing. Now I'll split my lines. And no, I'm not going to split my lines. I've got my subdivision. I'm going to copy lines to lots. change my selection to lot lines. And this one has a lot of little lot dimensions that are the same, so I can show you how to save yourself some time. So this first division is 30 feet, then 161.41, then 60, then 45.94. That's not looking right. Oh, that's 30. There's something. I'm not getting a dimension for that line. Maybe I should start at the other end. You're hearing my mouse clicking. All right, we'll start from the end. So that's 30 and 30, but then it's got a little triangle there. I don't see a distance on the outside either. So sometimes you have to do math. So I'd have to figure out what the line length of that triangle would be. Or I can just start with this and fake it. Yeah, I didn't even look at this plat very hard. You guys have any suggestions? Seems like poor labeling to me. And I don't think it's labeled on that other sheet. Yeah, I don't think it's labeled on here either. And to be honest, I think there's maybe some weird stuff happening here on the side. So sometimes I didn't look at this very closely, so we go to detail A, and that's D. Here's detail A. Yeah, I don't know if this is the lot line or the right-of-way easement. Let's see if the legend doesn't say what that line is. It's dashed. I think that might be the right-of-way easement. They've got that line symbolized with the triangles. But it looks like that line 11 goes all the way. So maybe we'll start up here. Sorry, this is a crazy subdivision. From the start of the line. See, that looks right. Oh, I didn't change it to this. Now here we have a bunch of lots with the same dimension, and here's where you can save some time. We got 60, 60, 60, so I'm going to count these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I enter here 60 tab 13. And that gets me all the way down here with just one entry. And I need to turn off labels because I can't see. All right. You think that's 220? 221.01 is what the whole distance says. We can say 220 because that's what's on the label. And then I'll hit this button here, distribute remaining length proportionally. That's one way. If what I have labeled or what's split up doesn't add up, I go through and I double check to make sure I entered everything. But then if it doesn't add up right, then I distribute that error throughout the rest of the lines. So I'm going to cut out this piece right now, not try to figure out how to get to those others. I mean, I don't even know how I'll get. Might have to do some math, and I don't want to do that live because it'd be embarrassing. So I'm going to do lot lines. I'm going to start here. And that the bearing of this line is going to be the bearing of the center line of the road. Now I have to find my line table. Line 7. I'm going to move this to the other side so I can see it. So this is one feature I don't like about the traverse tool. Did you see how I clicked in that box and now I have to select everything to delete it? My fast way of getting the whole thing selected is I come back here and then click back in that box, and it'll allow me to highlight the whole thing instead of selecting it manually. That was line 7, 45, 51, 37 northwest, 17.48 feet. And my lines aren't visible, so I'm going to change the symbology there. You notice when you pick from the gallery, you don't have to hit apply, but if you go into the properties of the line, you do have to hit apply. That's kind of weird to me. Back to the traverse. Traverse. Do you guys say traverse and then get cussed out by surveyors? I do that. They're very particular about that. That I don't know how experienced you guys are, but this bearing on this line, if there were no degrees, I wouldn't have to type that 1. So I'd just start with 0.00. But when you stay on the number keys and you're entering things without dashes, you need to have those zeros in there or it doesn't get parsed correctly. So I have to put 1.0004 dash 4. 4 is northwest. So I have to put in those zeros or it doesn't get parsed correctly. When the Parcel team, when they do demos, they put in the letters north and then the degrees dash minutes dash seconds. I like the time-saving method of entering it on the number keys with using the quadrant as the dash at the end. It's 52.67. And because this is the same bearing, I just hit enter when I'm in the direction field. Now I hit 60, and because all of these are just 60, I'm just going to start hitting enter and let it go. And if I'll zoom out a little and see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. So I'm just going to hit enter 18 times. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And 40.84. I'm just going to go with tangent curves, and I'm going to use the arc length. I've got the curve table open up on my other screen. It's a 45 to the right, so it's positive. And the arc length is 25.63. Curve 4. So this one's going to be a negative curve and different. That's a 50-foot radius curve. Distance of 6.99. I'm not using the delta because, here I'll show you. They didn't give me the delta. They only gave me, oh, scratch that. There's the delta. I'll keep using the arc length, because once you put one in, that's what you have to use. Otherwise, you got to override it every time. So I'm going to stick with the arc length curve 3. So I'm just hitting enter 3 times there to get to my length because everything is the same. A star in the direction field means it's tangent. Curve 2. I'll show you here in a second how, excuse me, how using that tangency, I am not sure why that's. Using tangency is handy because there's a way you can deal with stuff. You think that, oh, see detail F. So what detail F is showing me, here I'll bring it over. Detail F is showing me there's another little curve in there. It's curve 1. No, I did curve 2. Oh, why do they have curve 5 labeled on there? That's weird. It does say detail F, right? Yes. Well, we're just going to assume that curve 5 is incorrect. So curve 1, I'm not sure what the, oh, I think I need to, all right, curve 5 is valid. Curve 5 is this little chunk here, and then curve 1. Okay, this is what's weird. The orientation of that detail is, if they should have oriented it, they did, okay. They oriented it the same. So I was looking at it backwards. So curve 5 is this one to the left. Now we need to go curve 1 is on the south. Okay, it's not south because it's rotated. Curve 1 is on this side of this law line. Then curve 2 is the one to the right on this side. So curve 1 is still All right, that screwed me up a little because I have it oriented differently. So curve 1 is going to be from here to there. Then this is curve 5. So that was a little tricky. So tangent, same radius, 1.4 feet. Then we're going to go tangent again. Then this is curve 5. To the right is 45 and 20.83 feet. So if all of those are tangent, if I change this lot line selectable, yes. If I change this line, if I select it here, it's selected over in the traverse grid. If I change the bearing of this line to be 1.5959-4, it's going to offset it a little, but everything is, I'm going to make it more drastic. We're going to say 45-4. So I changed the bearing of that line, but everything I entered after it is still tangent. So if you screw up a line somewhere, you can go back and change that line, then everything, or this is the most likely case, if you screw up entering it, that's what happens to me. I screw up entering it, and then I go back and fix it, and then the subsequent lines that are tangent automatically get fixed, so I don't have to go through each one and fix those. So we'll move it back. So our exit bearing didn't quite come out to match this bearing. And that's why I use the delta, because if you do use the delta, I think sometimes that is more likely when it will match coming out. So it's 89, 57, 20, northwest, 53.56. And here we have 70.01, 1, 2, 3 times. And then 65. Let's see how close to the line we get. And line 2 is 45, 27, 49 northwest, 20.62 feet. So I don't know. I'm not seeing a legend that says what the triangles are. I'm thinking maybe the triangles mean that it's a road right of way. So does that mean there's a tiny little line up here? Yeah, I should have looked through this plat a little more closely. Or maybe looked at that parcel map 91-05. Duval says traverse, not traverse. I guess traverse is the verb and traverse is the noun. So here's how I would do it. Unless I had more time to look at this, but where I don't have a lot of time, I'm going to make this like an insane distance, 50 feet. Now I'm going to select these two lines. And, okay, how come we jumped out of the traverse entry grid. Now I'm going to select those two lines. This is a little trick I use. And I'm going to, where is planarize? I'm going to search for it over here. Use the planarize tool. What this does is it's going to split up lines where they intersect. There's a cluster tolerance, so I just leave that alone. I've got 3 lot lines there. So I did split that one, right? I'm going to, no, that is why do I have 3 lot lines? Nope, now there's only 2. So now I'm going to planarize those 2 lines. I'm going to delete this one. And then this one for attributes. I always have my attributes pane on the other side, on the other window. I'm going to change that to be, what was line 2? See, it calculated the distance there and then labeled this as computed. So it's going to be labeled a little differently on your map. If it's labeled, it'll be a different color or have brackets around it, I think. So line 2 is 20.62. So I don't know. Usually they will give you a little line dimension here. If this is part of the right-of-way, then they give you a connecting line up here and give you a tiny little distance. If it doesn't show up with the, if it doesn't show up when you're printing out the drawing, or they exploded like the details, I just don't think they're explaining that very well. And maybe it's explained in the notes. I don't know. I didn't look at it. So that's how I've dealt with things like that. And then I'll select this line and make it uh 120.75. Looks like we're at 45-ish minutes. So I'm not going to break out that whole subdivision. What I wanted to do is show you parallel lines and where this plat is not great. Maybe it won't work very well. But we'll give it a shot. We're going to enter this first line. So it doesn't give you a bearing. So it's implied that this bearing, these lines are parallel to this one. And this is unfortunate because each of these are different lengths. So my trick is not going to work. It'll work down here. We'll start over here. But the reason I can't do it here is because these lines are different lengths, so I can't copy one line to be parallel because they're all different lengths. But where these are the same length, I can do it over here. So I'm going to start a new traverse. Set start. It is not snapping. There it is. Have you guys also noticed sometimes snapping gets turned off? I don't know if I randomly click on it, but if snapping is not highlighted up here in blue and things aren't snapping, then snapping got turned off. So snapping is a toggle. If it's blue, it's on. If it's not blue, it's off. That's one thing I've run into as well. I swear I have not turned snapping off, but it just turns off. I never click it. 120 feet. Closure is 0.63 feet. So I'm thinking we're going to have some issues with getting these to close right. And I'll show you how I deal with that. So I've got my first line. I'm going to select it. And then I'm going to copy parallel. There it is. So it shows, the symbology shows you the direction of the line. And I'm going to use lot lines as my template. And then this asks me the distance you want to copy parallel. And I want to go 60 feet. And I want to, so it's showing me, giving me feedback here. It shows me where it's going to drop the line, but I need to count how many times. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 times. So when you have this many iterations, it saves time doing it this way. If it's 2 or 3, it's not going to save you a lot of time. So I'm going to click in that box and enter 13. And then you click out, and that's when it starts drawing them. Did I count wrong? Or did it not draw? Oh, there. Took a while to draw them. So it's showing where they're going to draw. Now I'm going to hit copy. And it's drawn all those lines. But the trouble is, oh, I went on both sides. Let's undo. Now I lost everything. Nope. See, that's where I went wrong. I had both selected. I meant to select right. And now my line is unselected. So my selection tool is active up here. I select my line. Now it's going to show me. Now if I hit copy, it filled those in. But I don't think everything lined up correctly, so I'm going to select my original line. Well, let's just see. Let's see what happened. I'm going to go to my parcel record workflows and do create seeds to see how many actually closed up. None. It's just one. Created one seed. So all of those lines, this one created a polygon. So I'm going to undo that. And I'm going to select all of these lines. And I am going to align features. And I'm just going to trace that line right there and give it half a foot. Well, no, that one was 60.63, so we'll give it a full foot of buffer distance. Hit align, and then do it on the other side as well. Now we'll see how many seeds we get. So there it created all the seeds. So sometimes you get some lines that don't match up very well, and I think that's partly my fault because I didn't look into the plat very well. I'm sure there's something I need to do in there that would make those line up better. So that's how I do these big subdivisions that have perpendicular lines, like in here, in this center island. I mean, if you wanted to, you could enter the outside lines, and then I've never done it, but you could enter the horizontal lines all the way through. Well, no, I would not do it that way. I would do this line down the middle. And if you wanted to, you could just do the long lines in between, copy those parallel, and then use the center lines to split them up. I don't know. Normally I would just do this line from here to here, then copy parallel all the way down, then do this line here to here, copy parallel all the way down after I had this center line added, and then do that alignment trick if I needed to. The newer surveys, they tend to line up pretty good within the closure tolerance of the traverse. So that's what I was going to show today, was how I deal with a lot of parallel lines. And if you get a lot of them, like I said, if you get a lot of them, it makes it worth it doing it. But if there's only 2 or 3, then it's not really worth doing, because the amount of time it takes you to set up the tool is about the same as it would take you to enter the lines. So that's what I was going to show today. Does anybody have any questions? Sam says he accents verse, traverse. And also, it's valuable to see my process or see me screw up so much. Well, I appreciate that, Sam. Any other questions? I think maybe it's how you say it, traverse or traverse, is dependent on where you're from too. I probably slip into traverse a lot, which, like I say, is when you think of that as a noun, as traversing a slope, which is what you're doing here. You're traversing through the lines. So I don't know. That's maybe somebody in England would say traverse. Surveyors do say that. So I have been chastised for saying traverse. And maybe if the Parcel guys are watching, maybe they can chime in. Well, I appreciate you being here today. I'm going to wrap this up a little early. I should have said this at the beginning, but if you're watching live, thanks for being here with me. If you're watching the recording, there's an advantage to watching live. You can ask me questions in the chat, as well as there are no ads. If you're watching the recording, I turn on monetization so that there's going to be ads distributed throughout the recording and at the beginning. So if you don't want to see ads, watch these live, and then you can watch me screw up live. I guess there might be an advantage to watching a recording because you can speed it up to 1.5 speed. I don't know how fast I talk, but sometimes I can't watch videos at 1.5 speed because it's too fast. So I appreciate you being here. What do you guys think about if I can be a little more prepared, if I have a subdivision chosen at the beginning of the week, if I send out the plat and a file geodatabase with the monuments and parcel fabric all set up for you in the right coordinate system, would you guys be interested in that? And then I send that out and you can follow along or do it afterwards to see, for practice. I had somebody asked me to send the data so that they could practice, and I did. I sent it to them in a file geodatabase and sent them the plat images. So if that's something you're interested, let me know and I can do that. I'd have to be a little more prepared than I am. I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants. A lot of the time, that's how I am for a lot of stuff. I shouldn't be, but so let me know. And if you're watching the recording, throw some comments in there if you have any questions. I respond to all my comments. I don't have too many comments, so I'm able to respond to all comments. So apologize that my face camera was too big at the beginning, and hope to see you next week.